Welcome to week 4 of The Artist's Way. In a moment, I'm going to start my reading of the chapter, but first I wanted to point out what I'm going to be doing in the background. I'm going to be working on finishing the painting of these journal covers, which hopefully I'll get around to putting a video out there about how I created the dragons that you see on the front. They were made using the epoxy sculpt. It's a two-part clay that is activated once you mix it together. It's in equal parts. You don't need a whole lot to get it going. You can find other videos out there that talk about using epoxy sculpt. That's how I got started. I used these eyes you see here. With epoxy sculpt, you are working with a chemical, so I like to remind you, if you're not familiar as an artist, you should always be aware that you're working with chemicals. So it says in the instructions to use gloves. It doesn't say anything about after it's mixed. Use your best judgment, honestly. You are working with something that is chemical, and long-term contact with it may have an effect. So consider that, and use at your discretion. It's also recommended that you use tools that are metal. It will stick to things like wood tools, carving tools like ceramic tools and stuff like that, or plastic. It can stick to those things too. It has about a 2.5 hour working time before it starts to stiffen up on you and becomes unworkable. The textures that you see here that the paint is already starting to bring out was created by pressing in lace and a plastic lace mat. Absolutely god-awful looking things, but perfect for making textures. I also used these tools here, like this one here, that's actually technically for putting designs on fingernails, but it's great for making dots when you're painting, but it's also great for creating these little dots that are little indentations that I've created patterns with on here. This texture you see here is actually from tissue paper that's been glued onto there to kind of give us a little bit of a texture for the dragon scales. Everything else about it will be painted, so you'll see that going on in the background. Anyway, to get to week number 4, recovering a sense of integrity. This week may find you grappling with changing self-definition. The essays, tasks, and exercises are designed to catapult you into productive introspection and integration of new self-awareness. This may be both very difficult and extremely exciting for you. Warning, do not skip the tool of reading deprivation. Honest changes. Working with the morning pages, we begin to sort through the differences between our real feelings, which are often secret, and our official feelings, those on the record for public display. Official feelings are often indicated by the phrase, "I feel okay about that," the job loss, her dating someone else, my dad's death. What do we mean by "I feel okay"? The morning pages force us to get specific. Does "I feel okay" mean I feel resigned, accepting, comfortable, detached, numb, tolerant, pleased, or satisfied? What does it mean? Okay is a blanket word for most of us. It covers all sorts of squirmy feelings, and it frequently signals a loss. We officially feel okay, but do we? At the root of a successful creative recovery is the commitment to puncture our denial, to stop saying it's okay, when in fact it's something else. The morning pages press us to answer what else. In my years of watching people work with morning pages, I have noticed that many tend to neglect or abandon the pages whenever an unpleasant piece of clarity is about to emerge. If we are, for example, very, very angry but not admitting it, then we will be tempted to say we feel okay about that. The morning pages will not allow us to get away with this evasion, so we tend to avoid them. If we have the creeping feeling that our lover is not being totally honest with us, the morning pages are liable to bring this creepy possibility up, and with it, the responsibility for an unsettling conversation. Rather than face this mess, we will mess up on doing the morning pages. By contrast, if we are suddenly and madly in love, the morning pages may seem threatening. We don't want to puncture the fragile and shiny bubble of our happiness. We want to stay lost in the sea of a blissful us rather than be reminded that there is an I in the we, or an I in the we. I-E-Y. Or, sorry, I-E-Y-E. I. That is temporarily blinded. In short, extreme emotions of any kind, the very thing that morning pages are superb for processing, are the usual triggers for avoiding the pages themselves. Just as an athlete accustomed to running becomes irritable when he is unable to get his miles in, so too those of us accustomed now to morning pages will notice an irritability when we let them slide. We are tempted always to reverse cause and effect. I was too crabby to write them, instead of I didn't write them, so I am crabby. Over any considerable period of time, the morning pages perform spiritual chiropractic. They realign our values. If we are to the left or the right of our personal truth, the pages will point out the need for a course adjustment. We will become aware of our drift and correct it, if only to hush the pages up. To thine own self be true, the pages say, while busily pointing out that self. It was in the pages, and then she's going to go into lots of different examples here, so we're going to skip over here. As we notice which friends bore us, which situations leave us stifled, we are often rocked by waves of sorrow. We may want our illusions back. We want to pretend the friendship works. We don't want the trauma of searching for another job. Faced with impending change we have set in motion through our own hand, we want to mutiny, curl up in a ball, bawl our eyes out. No pain, no gain, the nasty slogan has it. And we resent this pain no matter what gain it is to bring us. I don't want to raise my consciousness, we wail. I want. And thanks to the morning pages, we learn what we want and ultimately become willing to make the changes needed to get it. But not without a tantrum, and not without a kriya, a Sanskrit word meaning a spiritual emergency or surrender. I always think of kriyas as spiritual seizures. Perhaps they should be spelled kriyas, because they are cries of the soul as it is wrung through changes. We all know what a kriya looks like. It is the bad case of the flu right after you've broken up with your lover. It's the rotten head cold and bronchial cough that announces you've abused your health to meet an unreachable work deadline. That asthma attack out of nowhere when you've just done a round of caretaking your alcoholic sibling. That's a kriya too. Always significant, frequently psychosomatic, kriyas are the final insult our psyche adds to our injuries. Get it? A kriya asks you. Get it? You can't stay with this abusive lover. You can't work at a job that demands 80 hours a week. You can't rescue a brother who needs to save himself. In 12-step groups, kriyas are often called surrenders. People are told, just let go. And they would if they knew what they were holding on to. With the morning pages in place and the artist dates in motion, the radio set stands half a chance of picking up the message you are sending and or receiving. The pages round up the usual suspects. They mention the small hurts we prefer to ignore, the large successes we failed to acknowledge. In short, the morning pages point the way to reality. This is how you're feeling. What do you make of that? And what we make of that is often art. People frequently believe the creative life is grounded in fantasy. The more difficult truth is that creativity is grounded in reality, in the particular, the focused, the well-observed, or specifically imagined. As we lose our vagueness about ourself, our values, our life situation, we become available to the moment. It is there, in the particular, that we contact the creative self. Until we experience the freedom of solitude, we cannot connect authentically. We may be enmeshed, but we are not encountered. Art lies in the moment of encounter. We meet our truth and we meet ourselves. We meet ourselves and we meet our self-expression. We become original because we become something specific, an origin from which work flows. As we gain or regain our creative identity, we lose the false self we were sustaining. The loss of this false self can feel traumatic. I don't know who I am anymore. I don't recognize me. Remember that the most you feel yourself to be, terra incognita, the more certain you can be that the recovery process is working. You are your own promised land, your own new frontier. This next paragraph I've put a box around. Shifts in taste and perception frequently accompany shifts in identity. One of the clearest signals that something healthy is afoot is the impulse to weed out, sort through, and discard old clothes, papers, and belongings. And once again, I am not going to read everything piece for piece, but there is a lot of great gems in this particular chapter. And as it is going to bring of you the reading deprivation, this is your last chance to really get some good reading in before you take on that task. And normally when I am facilitating this series, I will warn people that this chapter is coming up because we always find ways to try and dodge it, but it is a powerful tool and I hope you will embrace it and take it on. And let's see, other things I have outlined. There will be a change in energy patterns. Your dreams will become stronger and clearer, both by night and by day. You will find yourself remembering your nighttime dreams, and by day, daydreams will catch your attention. Fantasy of a benign and unexpected sort will begin to crop up. Many areas of your life that previously seemed to fit will stop fitting. Half your wardrobe may start to look funny. You may decide to reupholster a couch, or just toss it out. Musical bents may alter. There may even be bursts of spontaneous singing, dancing, and running. And buried dreams and exercise. As recovering creatives, we often have to excavate our own pasts for the shards of buried dreams and delights. Do a little digging, please. Be fast and frivolous. This is an exercise in spontaneity, so be sure to write your answers out quickly. Speed kills the censor. 1. List 5 hobbies that sound fun. 2. List 5 classes that sound fun. 3. List 5 things you personally would never do that sound fun. 4. List 5 skills that would be fun to have. 5. List 5 things you used to enjoy doing. 6. List 5 silly things you would like to try once. As you may have gathered by this point in your work, we will approach certain problems from many different angles, all of them aimed at eliciting more information from your unconscious about what you might consciously enjoy. The exercise that follows will teach you enormous amounts about yourself, as well as giving you some free time in which to pursue the interests you just listed. Reading deprivation. Dun, dun, dun. If you feel stuck in your life or in your art, few jump starts are more effective than a week of reading deprivation. No reading? That's right, no reading. For most artists, words are like tiny tranquilizers. We have a daily quota of media chat that we swallow up. Like greasy food, it clogs our system. Too much of it, and we feel, yes, fried. It is a paradox that by emptying our lives of distractions, we are actually filling the well. Without distractions, we are once again thrust into the sensory world. With no newspaper to shield us, a train becomes a viewing gallery. With no novel to sink into and no television to numb us out, an evening becomes a vast savanna in which furniture and other assumptions get arranged. Reading deprivation casts us into our inner silence, a space some of us begin to immediately fill with new words, long gossipy conversations, television binging, the radio as a constant chatty companion. We often cannot hear our own inner voice, the voice of our artist's inspiration, above the static. In practicing reading deprivation, we need to cast a watchful eye on these other pollutants. They poison the well. If we monitor the inflow and keep it to a minimum, we will be rewarded for our reading deprivation with embarrassing speed. Our reward will be a new outflow. Our own art, our own thoughts and feelings will begin to nudge aside the sludge of blockage, to loosen it and move it upward and outward until once again our well is running freely. Reading deprivation is a very powerful tool, and a very frightening one. Even thinking about it can bring up enormous rage. For most blocked creatives, reading is an addiction. We gobble the words of others rather than digest our own thoughts and feelings, rather than cook up something of our own. In my teaching, the week that I assign reading deprivation is always a tough one. I go to the podium knowing that I will be the enemy. I break the news that we won't be reading, and then I brace myself for the waves of antagonism and sarcasm that follows. At least one student always explains to me, pointedly, in no uncertain terms, that he or she is a very important and busy person with duties and obligations that include reading. This information is inevitably relayed in a withering tone that implies I am an idiot child, an artistic flake, unable to grasp the complexities of an adult's life. I just listen. When the rage has been vented, when all the assigned reading for college courses and jobs have been mentioned, I point out that I have had jobs and I have gone to college, and that in my experience, I had many times wiggled out of reading for a week due to procrastination. As blocked creatives, we can be very creative at wiggling out of things. I ask my class to turn their creativity to wiggling into not reading. But what will we do comes next. Here is a brief list of some things that people do when they are not reading. Listen to music, make curtains, wash the dog, sort closets, pay bills, write old friends, repot some plants, mend, knit, cook, fix the bike, watercolor, rewire the lamp, paint the bedroom, rearrange the kitchen, work out, meditate, have friends to dinner, get the stereo working, sort bookshelves, a dangerous one, go dancing. Even at the safe remove of the written word, I can feel the shockwaves of antagonism about trying this tool. I will tell you that those who have most resisted it have come back the most smugly rewarded for having done it. The nasty bottom line is this: sooner or later, if you are not reading, you will run out of work and be forced to play. You'll light some incense or put on an old jazz record or paint a shelf turquoise, and then you will feel not just better, but actually a little excited. Don't read. If you can't think of anything else to do, cha-cha. Yes, you can read and do this week's tasks. On a personal note, I want to add that, of course, this book was written in the early 90s, and, our addiction to social media wasn't so much a thing. So when I come to this part of the book, I like to include our addiction to social media. And opening up our cell phones to watch videos all the time and read Facebook or Instagram or whatever social platform that you happen to be addicted to. Of course, YouTube on a regular basis. Although I will admit that in some of my things, I will turn to podcasts and YouTube listening for learning purposes and for exploring different mediums and finding how-to videos. But during the week of reading deprivation, I try to turn it all off and tune it all out and find other things to do. It's a great week in which to plan yourself a vacation, perhaps go camping, because then you're already removed from that technology or intention to play with that technology and do other things that you wouldn't normally do. In my years of working at Girl Scout camp and not having access to those things and growing up without having access to those things, I've never found it difficult to unplug, and I already understand and know the value and of doing reading deprivation, and I hope that you will take that to task. And speaking of tasks, this week, number 1, environment. Describe your ideal environment. Town, country, swank, cozy. 1 paragraph, 1 image, drawn or clipped, that conveys this. What's your favorite season? Why? Go through some magazines and find an image of this, or draw it. Place it near your working area. Although it is a dangerous thing, I will add Pinterest to this list. Is a great place for gathering instead of collaging. Number 2, time travel. Describe yourself at 80. What did you do after 50 that you enjoyed? Be very specific. Now write a letter from you at 80 to you at your current age. What would you tell yourself? What interests would you urge yourself to pursue? What dreams would you encourage? Number 3, time travel. Remember yourself at 8. What did you like to do? What were your favorite things? Now write a letter from you at 8 to you at your current age. What would you tell yourself? 4, environment. Look at your house. Is there any room that you could make into a secret private space for yourself? Convert the TV room. Buy a screen or hang a sheet and cordon off a section of some other room. This is your dream area. It should be decorated for fun and not as an office. All you really need is a chair or pillow, something to write on, some kind of little altar area for flowers and candles. This is to help you center on the fact that creativity is a spiritual, not an ego issue. 5, use your life pie from week 1 to review your growth. Has that nasty tarantula changed shape yet? Haven't you been more active, less rigid, more expressive? Be careful not to expect too much too soon. That's raising the jumps. Growth must have time to solidify into health. 1 day at a time, you are building the habit patterns for a healthy artist. Easy does it. List ongoing self-nurturing toys you can buy your artist. Books on tape, magazine subscriptions, theater tickets, a bowling ball. 6, write your own artist prayer. Use it every day for a week. 7, an extended artist date. Plan a small vacation for yourself. 1 weekend day. Get ready to execute it. 8, open your closet. Throw out or hand on or donate 1 low self-esteem, a self-worth outfit. You know the outfit. Make space for the new. 9, look at 1 situation in your life that you feel you should change but haven't yet. What is the payoff for you in staying stuck? 10, if you break your reading deprivation, write about how you did it. In a tantrum, a slip-up, a binge? How do you feel about it? Why? And of course, the check-in. How many days this week did you do your morning pages? And did you do your artist date this week? And did you experience any synchronicity or any other issues that may have affected your recovery? I hope you'll check in and join us on my Facebook group and join the check-ins. And see you next week.